I'm Patricia Drey, Busse, Managing Editor at the South Washington County Bulletin, and I'm here with Chris Reese and Tom Dippel, and we're going to be talking about the issue of rail transit. So first of all, obviously a lot has been happening lately with rail transit. Barack Obama dedicated quite a bit of federal stimulus money to high-speed rail, and some of that went to the proposed Chicago to the Twin Cities route for high-speed rail. And then locally, part of that rail line would pass through Cottage Grove and Newport and also be part of the Red Rock Corridor rail. So I'm just curious what you guys think about, is the upfront cost of rail transit worth it? You want to start, Tom?
Yeah, and I think an important thing to bring up in this conversation, first of all, is it constitutional? And if it's unconstitutional, then why are we even talking about budgetary matters? Because if the federal government isn't given the power directly by the federal Constitution to do these things, then essentially they're null and void. And even if they want to mandate that the state do it, it's still unconstitutional. If you look at the 10th Amendment, all powers not designated to the federal government are reserved for the states and the people. And so I don't see anywhere in the Constitution that allows for the federal government getting involved in a rail system. I don't even see authorization to give stimulus funds. So if that be the case, and we're all bickering about the deficit and spending and programs, when essentially that's kind of over here and it's not even inside of the box of constitutionality. And therefore I think it should all be thrown out and left up to the states and the people.
What do you think, Chris?
Well, to address the question, I think it's something that I think you need alternative modes of transportation. Rail has not really been overly successful when you've gone past the East Coast in the past, but that was when technologies were much less than what they are now. You're talking about a potential rail system going from San Francisco to San Diego, where it's going 200 miles an hour versus what we've had in the past, which is barely anything that's faster than a car. And when you look at the way our airports are busier today than ever, our airlines are going out of business. There's a lot of consolidation. Connecting flights are what you're seeing more, and direct flights are definitely going away. I think you need to look at different modes of transportation, and I think rail is one of them. A high-speed rail between here and Chicago, when you factor in getting to an airport, going through security, getting on a plane, getting off, and since airports are never at the hub of a city, they're on the outer skirts of a suburb, you're talking about the same time for transportation. And I think a lot of people, when you look at especially at the East Coast and you look at the European countries, might even prefer it over air transportation. So it's something I think we definitely need to look at and see if it's feasible, and if so, move forward with it.
And I would agree that it's something that we can look at, definitely, but the states and the people should, and it should be kept more local and not all the way over in Washington, D.C., where it's so hard for the people's voices even to be heard. And so taking that into consideration, you look at the possible need to subsidize. Well, there is definitely going to be a need. It says it right in the plan. And it's $78 million to $360 million per year, annual subsidies. And that's depending on how much the federal government is able to give the states to subsidize. So up to 80%, that's $78 million. If they don't give us any subsidization to operate it, it's $360 million. And right now, Minnesota has an extreme budget deficit, and so do a lot of other states. Therefore, to put any kind of a burden on the state like that, we're talking about millions of dollars, it's just completely irresponsible. I think it's out of touch with reality. The federal government has a printing press, the Treasury can send bills over to the Federal Reserve and print up the dollars, but all that does is inflate our currency. We lose value, and it's another form of tax. So, no, I think it's a terrible thing for the federal government to be involved in. I think long-term cost structure, unsustainable. Things that we have right now aren't even sustainable. So, yeah, it'd be wonderful if we could have a nice train, but I don't think we can afford it.
Let's say, 10 or 15 years from now, and the high-speed rail is built, the Red Rock Corridor is going, Red Rock Corridor commuter rail is going. Would either of you use either of those services, do you think?
Yeah, I would. I travel a lot. I'm tired of airports, and just a couple of weeks ago, I ended up taking the train from New York to DC, which is a little bit shorter distance than from here to Chicago, but it took about the same amount of time. Dumped me off in the middle of DC from the middle of New York. It was a quieter, more enjoyable experience, and it was a lot cheaper than sitting on an airline. So yeah, I'd definitely consider it.
And I would consider using it if it was feasible, cost structure was feasible, and it was efficient. Why wouldn't I? It would be just totally foolish to say that I wouldn't. And so in that regard, yes. But again, we have to address the issue of constitutionality, and if we don't do that, there's nothing we can do about it.
All right. Well, Chris and Tom, thank you so much. We're almost out of time, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.